Hello and welcome to a new episode of Experiencing Infdev Plus. I'm currently in the newest version, and as you can see, a whole bunch of books are broken around me thanks to the recent changes that have been done in version 1.0.39, and I won't be fixing them in this episode. Instead, I plan to do that in a stream that I plan to do the next Saturday. Well, I say next Saturday, but I mean the next Saturday as of me recording this, which means that by the time this gets released, the stream should have already happened. Anyway, that's not important right now. Now it's time to focus on the things that I want to do in this episode. And the first thing that I like to do is to plant a tree. That's because there have been some changes made to the saplings. The change being that you can no longer get the large spoon trees by growing the regular oak saplings, but you can grow the large spoon trees with the ancient oak saplings. So let me just plant one, because as you can see I've got a collection of spoon trees that I've planted through various versions, so I'd like to add another one to this collection. And I think I'm gonna plant it over here and also move this path. And this one's very disappointing. Another thing that has changed is the leaf decay. The leaves used to decay instantly, which caused some problems. But now they decay more slowly. But this decay also doesn't cause that many problems. Anyway, seems like there is a lock block in there, and after a whole bunch of attempts I've managed to get a tree shape that I'll be satisfied with. Also, the path is something that I'll take care of later. Now I'll just put away the items that I've got and move on to something else. And next up, I would like to take a look at some of the mob changes done in the relatively recent versions, just like I promised in the last episode. Those changes being the addition of some mob variants, which depend on biomes. For example, we've got different variants of cows depending on the temperature of the biome. So to see the variants, we're gonna need to do some exploration. And for that, I've changed my skin to look like an explorer. So we can go exploring. And the first thing that I'll take a look at are some variants of the creepers, and I think that the first that we should be able to find is the frost creeper, which spawns in cold biomes. And I just so happen to have a glacier biome near my base, so I'm gonna look around to see if I can spot a frost creeper. Also, one thing that I've had forgotten to say is that I've written down a list of all of the mobs that I want to check out. Unfortunately, I wasn't quite successful in the last spot, so I decided to change locations. And I wasn't able to find a frost creeper so far, but I've managed to find a fire creeper. So let me just quickly take a screenshot. And now I just show off what he does, which is that when he explodes, he creates a fiery explosion, and he's also immune to fire and lava damage. So we are done with this guy, so now I'm gonna move on to the other mobs. Also, you may have noticed some mummies walking around, which is kind of strange because this is supposed to be a petunia fields biome, and I think they should spawn in here, which is a bug, I guess, so I'm gonna take a look at that and report this. And also you can ignore this grass, because due to the metadata changes that have happened to tall grass, this was originally forested grass, but these are old chunks, quite old chunks. Anyway, seems like after some testing I found out that it wasn't actually a bug, just a work of me using a very old world. Also, another thing that I've noticed is that this biome used to be the steppes biome, but now it's petunia fields. Anyway, now that I've done the testing, it is time to continue searching for a frost creeper. I haven't had any luck so far, so I've decided to head back home. However, while heading back home, I managed to spot another variant, that being an orange jellyfish. So there's another mob added to the list. So now it's time to move on. I'm gonna try my luck in a different place when it comes to the frost creeper. Also, here you can see an old mesa biome, which looks quite different due to the changes to blocks. Of course, a new mesa biome won't look like this, so don't worry about that. And after changing locations a bunch of times, I finally have results. As you can see here, we've got a pair of frost creepers, which I happen to find not too far away from my base. So I'm gonna quickly take a screenshot. Anyway, the way that the frost creepers work is fairly simple. When it explodes, it doesn't deal damage, instead it just freezes you. Also seems like I was wrong, it seems to be dealing damage. So let me just quickly try it again, but this time without any armor. And yeah, as you can see, it deals quite a lot of damage. I'm currently on normal difficulty. And that was the frost creeper. So next up, I'm going to move on to the magic creeper and then the wind creeper. And while looking for a magic creeper, I've actually managed to spot some wind creepers. I believe that those aren't supposed to deal damage, instead they are supposed to kind of knock you back. Anyway, now we should be successful. As you saw, I got blown away quite a bit. And while in this location, I've also managed to spot a green jellyfish. Anyway, currently I'm looking for another wind creeper because I actually forgot to take a screenshot. And then I'll move on to magic creeper. And there we go. We've got a green jellyfish and a wind creeper. I haven't been successful with the magic creepers so far, so I've just decided to kind of visit different locations in hopes that I'll find one. The magic creepers are supposed to be purple, so I believe that they should stand out quite well. Unfortunately, I wasn't quite successful in locating the magic creepers in old chunks, so I decided to go into new chunks, which also gives me the opportunity to show you that the large growth shrooms now glow, because they didn't used to. Anyway, here is a magic creeper, so I'm gonna quickly take a screenshot and then show you what it does. Now that I got the picture, I'm gonna show you how the creeper works. Basically, when it explodes, it damages you and also leaves behind a damaging cloud of particles. Like this. As you can see, I'm getting hurt by those particles. And also, as you can see, it doesn't create a crater. And with the magic creeper out of the way, it is now time to move on to the overworld animals. And well, I decided to visit some old chunks again. More specifically, I'm visiting the area which I used in 0.2 as a secondary base. And the reason is because this has turned into a jungle biome, meaning that I can find some warm variants of the animals. Like for example this spotted pig. And there we go. Finally managed to capture a decent image. So now for the chicken, as you can see, the warm biomes have got brown chickens to spawn inside of them. And I believe the warm variant of cows is the white cow, which already was in the game, but now it only spawns in the warm biomes. So I also included it to the list since it also counts as a change. Another mob that we should also be seeing in a jungle is a wolf, which now spawns in more biomes. However, I'm also not seeing any ocelots which spawn inside jungles, which leads me to believe that maybe wolves and ocelots only spawn on mud or the lush grass. So I think I'm gonna move on to something else. However, before I do that, there is one more thing that I have to do, which is to take my cat back home, which for some reason has turned into an ocelot, likely as a result of all of the changes which have been done to the mobs. And next up, I'm going to take a look at the cold variants of animals. The first being the black cow, the second being the boar, which already was in the game, but now it is the cold variant of the pig. And there's also the black chicken. And those were the cold variants of the animals. So there was the boar, the black chicken, and the black cow. There's of course a winter variant of the wolf, however that only spawns inside of a taiga biome, and I'm not inside of one right now. Also, while I was here, I've noticed that one of the chunks has reset, so I'm gonna need to do something about it. Use a backup to revert it to its original appearance, which won't be that hard, but it's something that I'm gonna do later. After that, I decided to fly around a bit and noticed that there is actually a taiga biome nearby. However, I'm not seeing any wolves. Maybe because I'm in old chunks, like very old chunks, so I'm just gonna move on to something else. I have also decided to visit this place, which used to be a bamboo jungle when I first generated back in version 0.4, but has become a sparse jungle since. And while looking around, it has started to rain, which is when I've noticed that part of this place is like a sandstorm with rain particles, which is kind of strange, but I guess this is to be expected when I have such an old world. After all, 0.4 came out like, I believe, about 2 years ago. Can't remember the exact date. Anyway, there is still one more place that I'd like to visit in the old chunks, and once I visit that, I'm gonna move on to the new chunks since I feel like I'll have better luck there. And that location being an old savanna biome, which is near the mesa biome that I've shown you earlier. Although this savanna biome is kinda strange because you can see some parrots spawning in here, which is quite strange. But thankfully you can see some hot biome variants of the mobs, like for example this sort of brownish pig. There's also this striped wolf, which is a hot variant of the wolf. So let me just take a picture. Next up, there is a yellow chicken, which is the hot variant of a chicken. And lastly, there is the brown cow. Now, moving on, I would like to visit the flower forest. That's because I would like to see the new variants of Mooblooms. I did find a flower forest in the end, and at first I thought it only covers sort of this small area, but then I noticed that it actually continues over there. And here is our first Moobloom. As you can see, this is the original one with the dandelions, but now there are other variants with the other flowers. And after a while of looking, I've spotted the blue Mooblooms with the lilacs on. Then there is a purple one with petunias. And lastly there is a red one with some roses on top. And those were all of the Moobloom variants corresponding to the different flowers that you can find in the overworld. Now, as you might know, another flower they can find in the overworld is the orange tulip. However, there is currently no orange Moobloom. By the way, with that I have covered the Mooblooms, so now I'm gonna check out the wolves. And it would be wise of me to put on the spectacles to find them more easily. As you can see, there are some that didn't take too long. And here it is. This one is the rusty wolf. So let me just take a picture of it to add to the collection. If you can just stand still, that is. And now we are in a taiga. And there seems to be a wolf over there, so let me approach it. And I believe this is the snowy wolf. So let me just take a picture of it. And while flying around the taiga forest that I found, I happened to stumble upon a boreal forest where I found a chestnut wolf. And now I'm gonna look for a coniferous forest. At least that's what I believe it's called. It's basically the taiga variant with the large pine trees. That's because the black wolf variant spawns there, I believe. And thankfully it didn't take too long, but unfortunately the sun is already setting. But after teleporting home and sleeping to get day, I've managed to find a black wolf. The next wolf variant can be found inside the deciduous forest, that being the woods variant. So let me just look around to find one. And here it is. And the last wolf variant that remains for us to find is the spotted wolf, which spawned inside an outback biome. Thankfully that will be easy to find, as I've generated an outback biome at the end of this minecart line while looking for the other biomes. Now, you may remember this line because I built it inside of in a live stream when I was trying to get all of the achievements. More specifically, I was trying to get the honor roll achievement. Anyway, I'm gonna ride this track to get to the outback biome. Thankfully, the minecarts have been fixed since the live stream was aired, so I'll be able to ride it properly. But I'll still need to fix some things here. But that is something to do later. One of the things that I'm gonna have to do when revisiting this place is installing more boost trucks, because this track gets quite slow at some places. And here's another thing which I'm gonna have to fix later, those being these chunks that have been reset here. That's because these chunks used to have some of the minecart tracks inside of them. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have fixed them. But since the tracks go through them, I'm gonna fix them. And if the fix doesn't work, then I'm simply gonna dig through them or around them. And here's the end of the minecart track, and there's the outback biome. I believe the reason why it generated so close is because I've deleted those chunks as I found them to be unimportant. Now I just need to find the wolf. And after a while of looking, I've managed to find a spotted wolf. And those have been all of the new wolf variants that you can find inside this mod. Anyway, now that I'm done with those, I'm gonna move on to the albino alligator. And while looking around, I've also managed to find a magenta jellyfish. And after that I went out looking for a swamp, which is when I stumbled upon a desert, where I found some desert foxes. I don't know when these were added, but I decided to add them onto the list. And the reason why I wanted to find a swamp is because a rare variant of the alligator was added, that being the albino alligator. Unfortunately, it's quite rare, so it may take a while for me to find it. And as it turns out, it didn't take too long to find an albino alligator. I found it only like a few minutes after I recorded the last clip. I believe the albino alligator has about 1 in a 100 chance of replacing a regular alligator, and seeing that has reminded me that there are 2 other mobs which have got rare variants, those being a monkey with the duende and the slime with the pinky. The reason why I'm showing these in creative rather than in survival is because their chance of replacing the regular mobs is 1 in 1000, so it would most likely take too long for me to find them. Also, another special thing about the pinky slime is that it produces hard particles whenever it sort of jumps around. And the other thing you may notice about the duende it has got like different sounds compared to the monkey. Here are some regular monkey sounds. And with that, I have covered all of the overworld mods that I wanted to cover in this video. Now I would like to just go over the list again, which I had to rewrite since I was missing some stuff. So we've got the 3 new types of jellyfish, which can appear in the ocean biomes along with the one we already had. Then there's the desert fox, which spawns in the desert biome, snow fox, which spawns in the taiga, orange fox, which I believe spawns in the coniferous and boreal forests, which are the variants of taiga, the magic creeper, which spawns in sugarlands, fallow forest and orchards, the wind creeper, which spawns in the beach biomes, the island biomes and mountains, and the flame creeper, which spawns in deserts, mesas, outbacks and wastelands, the frost creeper, which spawns inside snowy biomes. Then there are the Mooblooms variants. You can find those in the flower forests. You can just encounter one of them randomly. And there's the vanilla wolf, which I believe spawns in the seasonal forest. Then there's the black wolf, which spawns in the coniferous forest. Snowy wolf, which spawns inside taigas. Woods wolf, which spawns in the deciduous forest. The striped wolf, which spawns in savannas and pampas. The spotted wolf, which spawns inside outback biomes. Rusty wolf, which spawns in jungle biomes and sparse jungle biomes. The chestnut wolf, which spawns in boreal forests. And there's the vanilla pig, which, like other vanilla variants of mobs, spawn in temperate biomes. The boar, which spawns in cold biomes. The dark pig, which spawns in mud biomes. And the spotted pig, which spawns in warm biomes. Then there's the vanilla chicken that spawns in temperate biomes. The duck, which can randomly spawn in any biome where a chicken can spawn. Then there's the brown chicken, which can spawn inside of the warm biomes. Then there's the black chicken, which can spawn inside cold biomes. Yellow chicken, which spawns inside warm biomes. Then there's the vanilla cow, which spawns in temperate biomes. white cow in warm biomes, black cow in the cold biomes, and the brown cow in hot biomes. And lastly we got the albino alligator, which is the rare variant of the alligator that spawns inside the swamps. Now, aside from these animals, there is also another animal which has got like biome dependent variants, that being the bear, but I decided to not cover the bears in this video as the biome variants of bears were already a thing before. Anyway, after that I went ahead and put away the things which I found while exploring this world, and I also edited this video a bit, which is when I decided that this video is already long enough, so I won't be doing anything more in this episode. Another reason is that while recording I made a mistake, because before recording some of the clips I played around in OBS, which as a result some of the game audio was recorded on the same audio track as my voice, so I had to record some clips where it was especially bad, but I didn't record all of them since that would take a long time and I just didn't feel like recording all of them. Of course I could also like dub them, but I didn't like that option since it would mean that the clips wouldn't have the game audio. As for the next episode, I already have some things planned. The first thing that I'd like to do is to visit the Astral Dimension to see the new mob, that being the Stratogel. The second thing that I'd like to do is to sort of fix the minecart track that I visited earlier. That way, my plan is to make it so that I can reach from the start to finish, which means adding some booster tracks. Another thing that I plan to do is to build some stations at the start and at the end of the minecart track. And I'll also like to do some fixing, like fix some blocks around my base and also the chunks that have been reset. And if I happen to have time, which I don't think I will, I would like to check out the changes that have been done to some of the biomes. However, I don't think I'll have time for that in the next episode, so I'll likely do it in another one. But anyway, that will be it for this episode, and I'll see you in the next one.